Tuesday night, 5:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are doing a live tonight. We're going to be making a delicious smoky beans and cornbread, which is awesome. I'm a few minutes late because I was getting ready for this, but I also need to salt my homemade cheddar cheese. So I'm going to do that really quick while a few more of you guys jump on. Shouldn't take that long. It'll give you guys something to watch while we wait for somebody else. There she is. Beautiful. It's got a little bit of roughness here. I have had some trouble with the cheesecloth sticking. So anyway, now we're in the drying phase, which is salting twice a day and flipping for today and tomorrow. And then it gets vacuum sealed and moved into my cheese cave fridge, where it will cure for 3 to 6 months. So we're just rubbing salt on the outside. There's a little bit of discoloration in this little wheel of cheese. I don't know if you guys, if the camera picks up on that or not, but it's like a little bit of red discoloration. I'm using pink Himalayan salt, but that's not the reason why. This last Azure haul, I ordered the salt they had in stock, and turns out that salt has like volcanic clay in it or something. And I guess something in my mind was like, I probably shouldn't put that in my cheese just because it was going to discolor it. But then I was like, well, that's like the only salt I have right now. So anyway, this is actually cheese salt. I forgot I had some cheese salt in there. I don't typically use it because it's white. I think it's Celtic sea salt. But anyway, we tend to lean more towards the pink Himalayan salt. So anyway, this side is all wet. That's completely normal. It's because it was the downside a second ago, and so it has been dripping and drying out. So it's got all day tomorrow to do the same thing. And that's all there is to that. This side is much prettier because it did not stick to the cheesecloth when I got the round of cheese out of the press. Okay, we'll move all this out of the way. We're going to get started on the cornbread. That cheese wheel will just dry at room temperature. Just sits out on the counter for 2 days. So the outside like kind of forms a, I don't want to say it forms a rind because it's not like Parmesan, but it just gets dry. Okay, well, let's roll. So first ingredient, or first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to put some meat into our big pot, which has nothing in it right now. That light makes it look like there's something, but it's empty. I'm going to grab the meat here. You can choose 1 pound of whatever you want. Tonight I'm using goat, but obviously not everybody's going to have goat. So you could use pork, you could use beef, whatever you want. You could even put chicken in this and it would be really, really good. I try and dump this without dumping out. I had to thaw it out, and there's clearly a hole in the bag. So there's a bunch of water in here. Well, it is what it is. There we go. All right. We're also going to chop the onion real quick and get that sauteing, and then we'll head on into the cornbread. So this is going to be over medium heat, and we're going to chop a whole onion. Let's see. I had to debate which knife to use. I hope you guys are all doing well. My life has been really, really full, which is why I went down to 1 live a month last month. Or this month, I guess. Next month in June, we'll be doing 2 lives, 2 cooking classes. It's just that May has been insane. We had the meat birds come, and that's been kind of crazy, and we've been getting a ton of rain, so there's been a really, really big push to get the garden in before the next wave of rain, which I'm very, very thankful for the rain. It's just that it just makes it so you can't plant. It's just too wet. So we were pushing very, very, very hard to get the entire garden in, which we did. We accomplished that. But anyway, so we had lots of garden stuff. We had Muscovy ducklings come at the same time as the meat birds. And anyway, so it's just been like super busy with all of that. And then the normal stuff, the homeschooling stuff. I'm going to be in a wedding in July, and so I'm one of the people in the wedding, and so there's been planning and stuff there. So anyway, it's just been kind of crazy. And then you compile all that with the milk that's coming into the house, which is about 3+ gallons a day from our goats. And when you add all of that together, that equals a lot of butter making and cheese making. In fact, we've made so much butter that we don't have to buy it anymore, which is awesome, but that all takes time. Okay, so this is just 1 pound of your choice of meat, 1 yellow onion. It's going to start sauteing here in a little bit, and this is going to be our cornbread. It looks disgusting right now. That's natural. So this recipe is actually inside my cookbook. If you don't have it, the link is down below. It's super cheap, and it ships right to you, okay? So the cornbread recipe is around page 67, depending on what version of my cookbook you have. You can always go to the back and look in the index. It'll tell you what page it's on. In my original old cookbook, it's on page 67. This is soaked cornbread, and I will say that the people in your life will love this. I've taken this to potlucks, and people are like, "Can I please have your recipe?" Because it's nice and moist and fluffy and delicious. So what this is this is a 1.5 cups of cornmeal. It's a coarser grind from Azure. You wouldn't have to get the coarse grind cornmeal, but just so you know, if you do end up getting the coarser grind, it will absorb more of the liquid, and you're going to have to add a little more. So it's 1.5 cups of cornmeal, 1.5 cups of whole wheat flour, and then 2 cups of buttermilk or milk kefir. But this ended up being 2 cups of buttermilk from making our butter. And then I had to add some water because it was way too dry. You want it to be nice and moist so it can soak that grain and properly prepare it for your family. So to this, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. But first, I've wisened up over the years, and please lard your pan first. The reason why I say that is because once you add all the ingredients to that cornbread mixture, it's going to react to the baking powder and baking soda in the recipe, and that cornbread is going to grow in size very, very rapidly. And if you don't already have this ready to go, it can go over the bowl. So this is a 7x11 pan. I have put it in a 9x13 before, but then you end up with a super, super thin cornbread. And I should also note that the oven is preheated to 350 degrees. Okay, so back comes in the mix. Like I said, this entire recipe is in my cookbook. We're going to go ahead and add, well, let's see, we're going to add 3 eggs. We're going to start there first. I have doubled this recipe and then put it in a 13x9, and it fills it up really, really nicely. But tonight I didn't double it. I didn't want a whole bunch of cornbread sitting around waiting for someone to eat it. 3 eggs. It's been super rainy here, so this is kind of like a comfort food day. Just gonna mix this on in. And I actually have to go grab some of our butter from our goat right now. So let me grab some. Do we have any thawed out or no? No? Is there next to you? Can you look? No? Hardly anything. Okay. I will grab out another stick. So we have our goat butter. There she is. Everything goat is white, you guys. When you are advancing in the journey of nourishing food, what usually is the standard is that all of your fats should be golden because it's from a cow. And so like golden cheeses, golden butters, all those things. But if you end up getting goats like we did, you should know that their dairy products will never be golden. Their milk will never be golden. And that's because the goat completely processes the beta-carotene that's inside the grass. And so it doesn't go into the butter as a yellow. Whereas the cow actually doesn't process it and it goes right through their milk. So if you can think about like when you take synthetic B vitamins, your urine turns like neon yellow. That's what's happening with the cow. They're just discarding the beta-carotene into your butter. So don't freak out that it's white. It's still healthy. We need a 1/4 cup. So that's going to be, hang on, it's frozen. We've been freezing it. This can actually probably sit out the extra. Whoops. Okay, let me grab a pan. All right, I'm going to start melting this over medium heat, back burner. And then I'm going to check the comments real quick. Give this a stir. All right, hang on. Nikki says, hi, Crystal. I recently bought a veggie chopper similar to yours and was wondering if I can chop celery and carrots in it and if I need to cut them small first. So she's referencing, let me see if it's clean. It'll be a miracle if it is. Hang on. I don't know what it is. I think it's still dirty. She's referencing a chopper that I typically use on my cooking class. That chopper, the only way I use carrots with it is if I cut them in half, like lengthwise. I'm just afraid that something's going to break if you put an entire carrot in there. And celery I've never tried, but I would be cautious with the celery as well, depending on how much liquid's in there. But I use it for everything else. I use it for onions and everything else. So it's a good product. It's just you have to be cautious with some of the crunchier stuff. I'm going to give this pot a stir back here. I love that chopper because you can like literally chop all of your stuff for salsa all in one container and it just gets chopped. Onions dice up super fast and you don't have to cry about it. It's just super nice. Okay, so this meat's already almost completely cooked and the onions are getting really, really close. There we go. So we're just going to let that keep on simmering until the onions are nice and soft. I'm waiting for the butter to melt. So the other thing I have behind you guys is an Instant Pot with beans in it. Hang on, I got to stick something on here. Okay, so Instant Pot with some beans. This is 6 cups of fermented white beans and 6 cups of fermented pinto beans. You could do all white beans if you want. That's fine. If you don't know how to ferment your beans, please check out my other video. It's the complete guide to fermenting beans and rice, I think is what it's called. It's underneath fermenting, underneath the playlist here on the channel. Basically, all we're doing is unlocking more nutrients for our family. It doesn't take a lot of time. I have 6 kids, you guys, and you can totally do it. I do it too. Just sits on the counter and you rinse them. Totally doable. And it'll fill up your family faster. That's why you want to do it. So anyway, that was 6 cups of white beans, 6 cups of pinto beans, and then I submerged it in broth. Okay, so it's just the broth went right over the top, just barely. And so the beans, since they're already soaked, they don't absorb much. It doesn't need that much to cook. And I put this in the Instant Pot and selected the bean and chili button, which I think is like 17 minutes or something, and let it cook. So you could do this, like if you have to work, you could totally load this up before you go to work. And it can cook and then just keep it warm while you are at work. And then you can come home and unload it. So this is going to be going into this pot here in just a second. But that's what's in here. So the butter is almost melted. We're working on it. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. All right, let me move this out of the way. We're going to add whatever butter is ready to go in here so it doesn't get all brown. Go ahead. What's wrong? You need a cup? Okay, hang on one second. Almost got to make sure she doesn't get the whole clump of butter in here. Okay, I'll get you a cup, okay? There you go. All right, so we're just stirring away here. And I'm following the recipe inside my cookbook. I am going to be omitting the honey tonight. We are cutting it back on a little bit of honey lately. We've noticed that certain individuals under the age of 2 are craving a lot of sweets and stuff like that. So anyway, we're all just kind of cutting back a little bit because we kind of got into a fruit swing, and then life was so busy that we kind of fed her whatever she wanted, which turns out was a lot of fruit and cheese. So we are trying to make the meals a little less sweet. So we're going to omit that. But if your family is new to this and you're used to store-bought cornbread, I would add a 1/3 cup of honey to this. Okay, so that's got the butter in it. We need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So here's that gorgeous salt from Azure that has the volcanic clay in it. It's amazing. It tastes amazing. It's just I wouldn't use it in cheese. if you're a cheesemaker. So that was about a half of a teaspoon of healthy salt. We already larded up the pan, so now we're going to add the explosives, which is our baking soda and our baking powder. We're going to do baking soda first. Doesn't really matter. The amount on the baking soda is half of a teaspoon. The finer you have of a ground of your cornmeal, the more this will explode. So this is a heavier cornmeal, so I might not get as much of a rise instantly. But if you get the fine stuff, it will go right out of the bowl. Okay, so and then 1 tablespoon, sorry, of baking powder. Let me grab a tablespoon. This is one of Bree's favorite meals. She loves beans and cornbread. And on a nice rainy day, it's amazing. So I'm just going to stir this rather quickly. I don't think this is going to explode as much as the fine grind, because it typically doesn't. I bought a huge bag of their medium grind corn flour, I think back in December. So it's coming up to its life because it's a whole corn. So the excess that's in our pantry will be fed out to the chickens here in about a month. But for now, there it goes out. You guys probably can't even see that, but it is rising. It's getting kind of puffy looking. So we're going to go ahead and load it into the dish. 7 by 11 dish here. And like I said, the oven is 350 degrees. There we go. And this just goes right on in just like that. And that is going to bake for about 30 minutes. You will know it's done because it kind of turns golden crispy on the sides. Okay, so now on to the next step with this. Everything is nice and soft, looks like. Whew. Something went up my nose. Okay, there it is. So now we're going to go ahead and dump the beans on in. I'm making a huge batch, so if you only have a few people to feed and you don't want leftovers, which why wouldn't you want leftovers? We use them for lunch. But if you don't want the leftovers, you might want to have all the ingredients that I have been listing off, because this is a 2.5 gallon, almost 3 gallon pot, so it's a lot of beans. Okay, so I'm gonna give this a good stir. Also, if you get to this point and you think there's not enough liquid in here, or we want it to be more like a soup, you could also add more broth. But we kind of want it to be nice and thick because we're going to be dipping our cornbread in there. So we need some Worcestershire sauce. Kathy, I'm not making it yet. I'm still using the same old stuff. 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. There it goes. We need 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika. I love the look of smoked paprika. So pretty. Oh, and Kathy, you should know, I planted the cumin seeds you mailed to me, and they all died. It's very sad. I planted like 4 plants worth because I didn't know, and they were coming up okay into the greenhouse, and then they died. Some of them died. Now it's down to 1, and I thought, oh, if I could just get 1 to live, Kathy would be so proud of me. But then that one died. I transplanted out into the garden. I don't know if it was like all the rain we got. We got like 2 inches of rain in one afternoon. I don't know if that's what did it, but it is no more. So I did try, and next year I will try again. All right, next ingredient is cumin. We need 2.5 tablespoons of cumin. That's what brought it to my mind. Was I use it a lot when I cook. And so it was kind of a bummer that none of it made it, but I did my best. It's okay. Next ingredient is garlic powder. We need 2 teaspoons of that. If I can find a teaspoon, let's see. Here we go. 2 teaspoons. There we go. All right, I'm gonna give it a good stir here. I'm gonna taste a little bit and see if it needs some more salt. This is pretty much done other than salt. I'm gonna just give it a little taste and we'll find out here. Hey, Bree, can you move that fan further that way so it's not so loud, please? All right, let me grab a little bit out of here and give it a little taste and we'll see if it needs more salt or not. Yep. Let me grab that. Give me salt again. I'm thinking it needs a good tablespoon for this size of a pot. Okay. There it goes. Now, I'll have to taste it again. Hang on. Yep. 1 tablespoon is perfect. That's going to be delicious. Okay, so this is it for dinner. This is done. I'm just going to turn the burner off. And then the cornbread, like I said, is baking for about 30 minutes. And then that's going to be gone and done and in our stomachs. And like I said, I have served that cornbread at potlucks. And people ask for the recipe, which is awesome because they ask for the recipe and you can say, oh, it's actually fermented. And so it kind of opens the door to proper preparation of grains and the fact that properly fermented food can be absolutely delicious. It doesn't have to be weird. So that is all I have for you guys tonight. You guys have any questions? You guys have a topic you want to talk about? I'm going to clean off the counters here for a few minutes. And if you guys have anything, type it down below. They were making deviled eggs a little bit ago, and so they were making homemade mayonnaise. I was trying to teach the girls how to do that. Nevaeh knows how to do it, but Bree, it was her first time trying, so I kind of had to fix it for her, which is fine. Oh, I got baking powder on my face. Check that out. Anyway, and so they were working on that, putting paprika in it and all that good stuff. And just in case you're wondering, this is an Azure Standard product, okay? As far as the Worcestershire sauce, you might, if you live in a bigger city than I do, you could probably go down to Health Foods or something, and Whole Foods or whatever it's called, and buy this. I don't have one of those here, so I just get mine from Azure. And like I said, the salt I got from Azure as well. But you could use any salt, any pink Himalayan salt, Celtic sea salt, any healthy colored salt can be used. Other than that, oh, my husband found this. I have to give like a little shout out here because my husband's been getting very, very good at reading labels. And so he said he had saw some grilling steak seasoning by Watkins in Menards, which is, if you don't have a Menards where you live, it's like a Lowe's or Home Depot. Anyway, and I was like, yeah, well, it probably has sugar in it. It probably has MSG in it. And you know, it doesn't. Like, I was totally wrong. So he bought one. I don't know how much it is, but anyway, it just has sea salt, dried garlic, black pepper, toasted minced onion, smoked paprika, dill seed, red pepper, and organic red bell pepper. All those ingredients were all organic. So I was impressed. So we got one of those. We also found at Menards, he's in there buying other things, and so he sees this stuff out of the corner of his eyes. Anyway, and so they also had like a cheddar-filled broth that had no nitrates in it. It was uncured. It was delicious. So anyway, you never know where you're going to find good food, but this is a win. So I'm happy about that. Jared, do you remember how much this was? What? I'm just trying to find out how much the steak seasoning was. Here, she can come in here. Does she just need me? No? Okay. We're going to find out how much this was at Menards. But, yeah, I was surprised it didn't have anything that we weren't allowed to have. So that was nice. See if you can make a guess at how much it was. Watkins stuff is kind of expensive, so I wouldn't be surprised at like $12. That's what I'm going to guess. 12 bucks. 9.6 ounces. Does he remember?
$7.49 for tax.
$7.49. Now I'm really shocked. for like all the ingredients being organic, that's a good deal for all of this seasoning. That's crazy. Okay, so anyway, if you have a Menards, go check it out. If you do grilling, this is amazing stuff. Doesn't have MSG and doesn't have any sugar. So there's your buy of the day. And like I said, they also had like cheddar stuffed bratwursts that were uncured, didn't have any junk in them, was just cheddar cheese and meat. So that was awesome too. All right, you guys, I'm gonna check the comments. Does anyone want to talk? Or are we good? Everyone's so shy. All right, well, if that's the case, then I'll see you guys, I believe it's in 2 weeks, for the next live. So you guys have a great night. Hope you guys give this recipe a chance, a try. And if you need the recipe in physical form, the link to my cookbook's down below. Super cheap, and then just ships right to you. So check it out. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Take care.